It's like, okay, you have representatives of so many different countries here. That in itself, just you feel that, kind of greatness, like that collaboration between the world is happening right now. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. But on the lighter, so I imagine the US and there are other countries, China, India, some of the biggest consumers, producers, and the big shakers that we really need to be on board. The US, with Trump, we were out of the Paris Agreement,
Yeah.
and then we came back in. What do you see changing, with this new presidency, this whole new, the next 4 years at least?
Um, the first thing we can notice with this new administration is the new language about multilateral diplomacy. Because for Donald Trump, multilateral diplomacy was not a tool, was not an objective at all. It was unilateral. That's another word. That it was unilateral diplomacy,
Mhm.
which means that
Me.
me, and deal with it. So when he says America first, it wasn't only something for his people in the Republican Party. It was a way to say the problems in the world don't matter for me. What matters are the U.S. interest, and I will only help you guys if it's in our interest. I have to say that in diplomacy, we know that many countries are like that, but they don't say it out loud. Donald Trump was the only one saying that out loud because, well, it's Donald Trump. I'm not going to comment about the U.S. Politics.
But I'm asking you to.
Well, we can
So
we can
what's
talk
what?
about it, but if we talk about diplomacy, I'm not going to criticize him. Uh, he was elected by the U.S. people,
And
and
he
then
actually has achieved a whole lot. A lot of things that he said he would do, he
hmm,
actually did. And if you list that out, it's like way more than most presidents ever have listed things they'll do, and then they actually do it. I mean, the consequences are another significant topic to talk about,
hmm,
but yeah, I mean, he's been unique for sure, and he had some good things, but he had a whole lot of things that set us back as a planet, I think.
yeah, yeah. So exactly. So um, he's a more a businessman than a politician. So when you do business, it's easy to commit on something, and then you do it because that's your way of thinking. Diplomacy or politics are more complex than business, and that's why it wasn't good for multilateral diplomacy to deal with Donald Trump because we want the UN or any other instrument of multilateral diplomacy was not part of his priorities. So that's the first change we can notice with Joe Biden, because he directly said that he would sign again the Paris Agreement. Actually, he was very involved as a vice president in the negotiations of this agreement. Many people remember John Kerry or Barack Obama on this agreement because they were the people in front. But of course, they were only representing a government, as I said, for Spain. And we know that Joe Biden was very involved in the negotiation of this agreement already at that time. But as well, he said that he sent a direct message to other countries around the world saying there is so many issues that we can fix together, and we are open again for dialogue, and let's meet again, let's discuss again, and let's face those issues together again, which is logic, which is the traditional position of the US for many years, even with the George Bush during the war of Iraq of 2003, sorry. He tried to get the authorization of the UN to go to Iraq, but France said no, and they used their veto. And after he did what he wanted to do, but he first tried to get the authorization from the Security Council. He failed, and at the end, he did what he wanted to do. But at least he respected this tradition of respecting the UN as an organization and the spirit of mutual diplomacy. Um, at first, but then he did something else. Uh, but yeah, so that's the first change, I think. But like as I told you, I know that Joe Biden only focuses on the interest of the US and the US citizens, and I have no problem with that because every country does that. But at least the speech is respectful to mutual diplomacy and is open to dialogue, which is a lot.
Mm. Yeah. So what other big changes have already happened, or do you expect to happen? I mean, we rejoined the Paris Agreement.
Hmm. I
Was
expect him
there
as well to rejoin the World Health Organization
right?
because the US left the World Health Organization during the Trump administration. I don't know if,
Iran deal?
yeah, the Iran deal. It was a deal negotiated by the Obama administration, and was part of this administration. So let's see. The doubt I have is that now we had a lot of moves during the Trump administration from the US and from Iran. So it's not something like, it's not as easy as the Paris Agreement because Iran uh, feels offended by the US after the strike that Trump organized against the General Soleimani. I don't know if you heard about it.
No, tell me.
It was 1 year ago. So it's one of the top generals of Iran. He was in Iraq, and Trump ordered a strike against a military basis of Iran in Iraq, and this top general was killed. And this is something that had a huge impact on Iran. And so and we had other military issues after this strike. A drone of the U.S. Army was shooted by Iran. They shot at a plane of Ukraine because they thought that this plane was a rocket, but it was a mistake. So too many things happened to come back to this situation as nothing, uh, as nothing happened. So we need now to see what steps will do Joe Biden toward Iran and what Iran will accept to do toward the US, and we see if there is mutual willing to come back to the Iran deal.
You
It's
see Joe
complex.
Biden talk, right? Like you see him talk and then he loses his train of thought. It's hard for him to stay to one concept, even to do one whole sentence
Hmm.
and then move to another sentence. Seems really hard for him. How much do you think that would impact those negotiations? I
Uh,
mean, does he have any support there that could be like, all right, in all honesty, talk to me. Don't talk to the president.
well,
Like I'll be the guy.
I don't want to disappoint you, but the real negotiations are made by diplomats. When you see Joe Biden talking to a president, or when you see high-level leaders on TV, it's just to materialize this agreement or materialize this diplomatic thing. But um, all those negotiations is made by Iranian diplomats, European diplomats, and U.S. diplomats. They meet all
That's
together.
not a disappointment at all. That's great news.
And yeah, so Joe Biden will come to just be there for the picture, but what he will really do is to give the instructions to the U.S. Diplomats, and they will tell them he will tell them make a deal or don't do the deal or get
Mhm.
this from them, or if they ask this, only give them this, you know. So he will give the instruction, because diplomats, as I told you, they cannot decide by themselves. They need to get the approval from the administration, and the one who has the legitimacy to decide is Joe Biden, is the House of Representatives, is the Senate, because they were elected by the citizens of the United States. So even if Joe Biden meets with Iranians, it will be for 1 hour or something, just to make the deal happen. But his job is to give the instructions, to give the line, you know. So and also I have to say that Joe Biden is known to be a very good negotiator. I don't know if you remember the Obamacare that was approved at the Congress. It was approved in a moment in which Obama didn't have the majority at the Congress. So Joe Biden had to negotiate with the Republicans, congressmen and congresswomen, to convince them to support the Obamacare bill, and He made it. Sorry, because uh, the vice president of the United States is as well the president of Senate, so he was directly in contact with those senators, and so he has very good negotiation skills. So I think if he wants, he can make a good job on diplomacy, but I have doubts about the Iran deal. There is too much things happened during those 4 years to make sure that this deal will come back.